Okay, let's do this. The problem with Dogecoin is you have not liked, commented, or subscribed on this video. But seriously, the real problem of Dogecoin is I think that there are issues with Dogecoin, not so much the crypto space entirely, but I think that there is some underlying concerns that people are not looking at. So let's start with my explanation on why I think that Doge is rising. And I think it's rising because it's the same type of mentality and same type of people who are the uninformed investors, the losers in the stock market that lose more than what's actually normal. And this is like the first win they've actually acquired and that they're actually like, trying to hold on to as their claim to fame, that sort of thing. Did I rustle your jimmies yet? Am I living rent free in your head yet? No? Okay, well, let's keep going. First point I want to make is that Dogecoin was cheap. If you guys can see, like the years prior, it was basically sub a penny, and then later into 2021, when crypto was getting a lot of hype, it actually got up to a single cent, and then later 3 cents, 5 cents, and in April it really took off to a point now where it's at like 27 cents. I equate this to people who are penny traders because it's low capital, low barrier of entry and stuff like that, right? But having a low barrier entry kind of also it makes you question a lot of it, right? You're not questioning it if you're desperate and if you think that you're only being fed like all these good news about like these Doge millionaires, Doge billionaires and stuff like that, right? You really think you're going to think otherwise? Well, let's look at Hertz. People thought that the whole COVID situation was a great opportunity to sink their money into Hertz, thinking that when this comes back, it's gonna be whatever, that sort of thing, right? But for Hertz to do that, they would have had to dilute their shares, so they would have had to sell a bunch of stock in the open market to hopefully shore up some cash, which they couldn't really float. And they basically tanked. Like this company is still being traded on the OTC market, as far as I can tell. But that kind of downgrade isn't a good thing. There's a reason why there's not a lot of like penny stock traders that are very successful out there. They're penny stocks for a reason, and I know that most people are just trying to day trade it, but like, buying and holding and stuff like that could get you in a world of hurt. Another example is like look at Luck and Coffee. They were supposed to be the Chinese Starbucks, and now they have been the same. They got delisted. They got completely just like hammered. I think they're still trading in the OTC, but you know if I was to compare this with Doge, I think that this is just it's the same kind of low barrier to entry that people that are drawing people to it. They're like, I don't need to have $700 to buy a single share of Tesla. I get that, but at the same time, there are other outline concerns which I'll outline further into this video. The second point is I think a lot of these new investors are emotionally driven, and a lot of these newer investors invest based on their feelings. Now, the market isn't exactly a houseplant, so you setting positive vibes to a ticker won't cause it to kind of jump or anything like that. But what it does do is it does react to, and I'm not saying it's totally emotionless. It does react to fear, both positive and negative. Fear, that something might be wrong with the company, or in this case, wrong with the coin. Oh, and also fear in the positive sense of like sort of like I guess it's kind of positive. I don't know, but fear of missing out, and that emotionally drives people to invest more so and just forego any sort of safeguards because they heard that this person became a Doge millionaire. The third factor I find that's somewhat dangerous as well is that a lot of these people who are hype beasts, like Elon Musk, for example, talked about Dogecoin as an example and ended up causing the crypto to pump. Now, this isn't exactly an SEC violation per se because crypto's technically not like, or at least Dogecoin isn't essentially regulated by the SEC. It's not within their jurisdiction. But again, here's the thing though, like it's a double-edged sword. Right now, it's helping the people who are Doge believers, but what happens when someone even bigger or if Elon changes his mind, for example, right? If he changes his mind and he doesn't have faith in Dogecoin anymore, there goes Dogecoin. There goes your hype. Now, there's a big issue I take mostly in the crypto and non-crypto space, and that's having to do with news. But I take more issue with it in the crypto space because I could literally go make a website out there right now called like crypto crazy news or something like that and make up all these unsubstantiated claims that, this coin's going to be doing this, the coin's going to be doing that. This country says that they're considering using usage for this coin. It's all pump and dump stuff. and I don't like that. Like look at SafeMoon for example, right? What does it do? I don't know. Why are everybody talking about it? I don't know. Like, what's it used for? I don't know. Like, there's no substantiated information behind that, and a lot of people do this whole hindsight thing, which I've been in the crypto space since it was below $100 when Bitcoin's below $100, and I've seen the evolution take place over time. But one thing that they're constantly screeching right now, which I find kind of funny because this is like so cyclical, but they're screeching about how nobody ever reads the white papers. So let's go do that. Let's go read the Dogecoin white papers. All right, so here's the white paper. So Dogecoin Core. Dogecoin is a crypto like Bitcoin, although it doesn't use the 256 as its proof of work, taking development cues from 10bricks and Litecoin, employs a simplified variant of the script. So this is developer stuff. Okay, so how much Dogecoin can exist? Early 2015, there will be approximately 100 billion coins. Each subsequent block will grant 10,000 coins to encourage miners to blah blah blah, keep going. They use a simple variant, blah blah. Rewards are fixed to half every 100,000 blocks. Permanent reward will be 10,000. Last I checked, we are on this reward block now, so about 10,000 Dogecoins for every block minted. And that's the entire white paper there. Now, one of the co-founders and pretty much the main guy who created Dogecoin says that he can't comprehend the calls for Dogecoin to reach $1. And that's because it was actually just intended to be a joke. Now, the question becomes, well, if it's a joke, why is it running up so hard? And, well, the answer to that is a man named Elon Musk. So it's tweets like this where he says like SpaceX is going to put a literal Dogecoin in the literal moon, and he has a whole bunch of them out there, but like stuff like this where it's like Doge barking at the moon, and this is him because he's such a memester. He's taking pot shots at the SEC because technically the SEC can't go after him for this because he's just talking about something that's not essentially under their jurisdiction. I personally take a little bit of issue with it because a lot of this follows no rhyme or reason, and it's basically all I can describe as just fanaticism. Before you head cases fire off on me and say that stock market is exactly like that, yes and no. A lot of crypto isn't really exchanged for anything. Like, yeah, you can make the argument for NFTs, but I'm making the argument for stocks and stuff like that right now with, let's say, something like coffee beans, for example, right? You can see the input and output through the U.S. Department of Agriculture, how much there is. And, it's very simple. Low supply, high demand, higher prices, or high supply, low demand, lower prices. It follows a very simple logic to that point where crypto doesn't really. It's just like, oh, it's going to be the next, to the moon, that sort of thing, right? That doesn't really follow a lot of logic. And if you guys don't believe me, check out a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but it follows a man who was hired by these like banking institutions to go into countries, buy or burn up these crop fields to artificially inflate the price of certain commodities for the futures that they were holding and stuff like that. Let's circle back to the risk really quickly. And according to Benzinga, around 100 people control Doge's entire $46 billion market. That's about 68% of the Doge market right now. And I'm not saying that these are all singularly one person, but I would hope some of these are actually exchanges, which have no reason to really liquidate the coins, and they need it for liquidity issues. But we all saw what happened with Archipelagos or Archipelagos or whatever in Viacom, for example, right? This guy wasn't a short seller, and Viacom went from $80 down to $40. And I'm not saying like all these 100 people are going to do in a coordinated fashion where they're all going to liquidate at the same time or something like that, because they're all going to be racing out the same door. But that race out the same door could cause the entire Doge market to crash. But that's not the only thing that could cause the Doge market to crash, is what I'm saying. So the other side of this risk is, I looked at the white papers, and we actually both looked at the white papers, but we couldn't see any sort of thing mentioning about a supply limit. Bitcoin has about 21 million. Dogecoin is based off the Litecoin, which Litecoin has no max supply cap, as we could see. So theoretically, Dogecoin can have like almost infinite supply out there. And since they're minting, each new block is being discovered every minute or so, and it's rewarding about 10,000 Dogecoin, which if we do some quick math here, there's about 500,000 minutes in a year or so, give or take, and then it comes out to be about 5 billion and some change new Dogecoin every year. Now, I don't know about you, but there's no power company out there currently that I know of that is taking Dogecoin direct payments. So you still have to convert that coin, which means that you would have to, as soon as you get that coin, you would have to sell, which again will have more sellers than buyers, drive the price of Dogecoin down. My final thoughts and opinion are I am still not a full fan of crypto. I still think that there's a lot of issues out there, and most having to do with fraud and crime and stuff like that, right? But you know, everybody's going to argue with me that it's safe and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, sure, whatever. But um, I'm not fully anti-crypto. I was actually involved in it, like sub $100. I was actually trading it back then, and this was at the time when everybody still had a lot of ignorant opinions. Like it went from like back with the Mount Gox and that place in Vancouver, which suddenly disappeared. The CEO suddenly disappeared or died or something like that, and there vanished all the crypto because he had the only password there. But what happened was that a lot of people were claiming that, well, you guys should have owned your private keys. That way you don't actually own your wallets. And then it became, well, you have to have a cold storage with your private keys. Otherwise, these exchanges can do whatever because they also have access to your private keys or some crap like that. And then it became like, oh, well, you guys should have read the white papers because that's why your altcoin failed and stuff like that because they had such crappy vision. All of it's just misguided stupidity, in my opinion. I don't think they have the maturity stage yet, but I don't know. We're still at the early stages, right? We don't know anything can happen. But in terms of the now, I'm more in preference of a utility coin. Like Bitcoin, you can make the argument that it's better than gold. Sure, go ahead. But price, for me, the argument is price instability. It went from 60K down to 50K in like the weekend, pretty much, and so forth. But with Ethereum, we saw what happened with the NFTs. Although that fad's kind of dying and stuff like that, I think that the utility coin is probably more useful for the future, but that has yet to be seen. The one last grievance I actually do have with it still is more of a reservation with people seem to have this misconception that middlemen are bad, like the banks processing your transaction, taking a little fee off whatever the merchant is, not you, is the bad guy. Let me give you a real example. I used to be an e-com seller on Amazon and eBay. And let's take eBay's policy, for example, right? So eBay, as soon as I get an order, I basically have the money instantly deposited in my account. And I could just do whatever and all that sort of stuff, right? And typically what you would have to do is to get the funds released is that you have to assign a real tracking number onto the order to show that you shipped the item, whatever, right? I could have just sent you a box of rocks for all you know, whatever, right? But let's say you get the box of rocks. You complain to your credit card processor. The credit card processor says, okay, well, we believe our client and, she showed us evidence of this or whatever. So therefore we're reversing the transaction and they take the money out of me because, there's a lot of linkage that they can go through or whatever, right? But if there was Bitcoin and there was no middleman, you could just send the money directly to me. I could send you like a box of rocks, or even if I sent you anything or whatever, right? And I could just pocket the money and run. And, in Amazon's case, Amazon, they go to the nine. Like I love Amazon for what they do because they're very protective of their customers. So like I would get an order from you. Not only do I have to ship the item, I have to basically wait until you receive the item. And then 20 days after that into the next payment cycle, that's when I actually get paid. So that could be like up to 40 days or more, depending on like the timing of everything, right? Middlemen have a place and they do a lot of services that you don't even realize that help protect you. And that's my case for them, but I don't know why everybody seems to like vilifying them because they're bad. They're always these evil banksters and stuff like that. There are good middlemen, and there were, I would say, some should be required middlemen out there or escrow services out there to help this, something that the crypto world doesn't have. But what do you guys think? Like, comment, subscribe, and just remember, just because you're a day trader doesn't mean you have to trade every single day.